Now that you are in a class studying economics, don't be surprised if people start asking you questions like, what's going to happen with the stock market? If you don't know exactly what the stock market is, don't worry. You'll learn about it later in this class. But here's a secret. Even if you memorized every bit of economic wisdom ever written, you still wouldn't be able to predict whether the stock market will rise or fall tomorrow. In fact, as you will learn in a later chapter, not even the experts know what will happen to the stock market. But economics has a lot to offer. It can help you to make sense of the daily news. It can help you make good decisions about your time and money. And it can help you lead a happier, more satisfying life. Now, how can economics do all that? Well, because economics provides a framework for understanding the world around you. It offers a powerful set of decision-making tools for individuals, business organizations, and governments. Economics can help you figure out what to do with your earnings, develop a successful business, and plan for the future. When businesses stumble, as many have recently, economics shapes policies to help workers hold on to their jobs and their homes. Throughout the world, in the wake of severe weather, oil spills, and other disasters, economic forecasts help people prepare for jolts to food and energy prices. Your study of economics will also help you evaluate messages from advertisers, the media, and the troubling number of tricksters out to capture your hard-earned money. For example, you've already seen that the stock market is unpredictable, so you know to be wary of claims that a particular stock investment is a sure thing. Economic education can also boost your earnings. People with training in economics often earn high salaries because they have acquired skills valued in fields such as business, finance, and government. Beyond that, you can expect familiarity with economics to help you become a better citizen. Before long, as a voter, a member of a household, and a participant in the life of your community, you will have opportunities to make important decisions. Economic literacy will help you navigate the swirling debates over budgets, the environment, healthcare, and taxes. Your exposure to economics might even inspire you to seek public office or change the world in some other way. In fact, many former presidents, members of Congress, business executives, rock stars, and philanthropists were economic majors in college. An introduction to economics will not give you all the answers, but it will teach you the right kinds of questions to ask and give you a logical way to approach decision-making. Ultimately, the economic way of thinking will help you explore your possibilities for success and happiness. So, let's get started with our study of economics. Our first question that we are going to focus on in this opening module is to answer the question, what is economics? What is it that you are going to be studying for this semester in high school? What you're doing right now, listening to this lesson, is the result of an economic decision. Now that might surprise you. When people think of economics, they usually think about money, complicated graphs and charts, or factories producing cars. Or they think about words like prices, unemployment, and stocks. Economics is about all of these things, as you will see, but it is also about you, right now, making the choice to be in this class and listen to this lesson. Because economics, at its core, is about choices. Economics is the study of choice under conditions of scarcity. Now, scarcity exists if we desire more of something than we can have. For example, individuals face a scarcity of time. Businesses face a scarcity of the materials used to make what they sell. Governments face a scarcity of tax dollars, and countries face a scarcity of energy sources. A good way to understand scarcity is to think about your own life. So in this module, we'll have several objectives. First, we will explain what economics is and why it is important. We'll define the term opportunity costs. We will differentiate between your wants and your needs. And we will identify society's key economic resources. So, the first thing we will look at is this concept of scarcity. What is it and what does it mean? What is scarce for you? In other words, what do you desire that you can't have? If you would like a better cell phone, your own car, more clothes, and more time playing your favorite sport, these things are scarce for you. Behind these examples are two more basic forms of scarcity. One is the scarcity of money available for you to spend. As you know, it doesn't exactly grow on trees. The other is time. Sleeping, eating, doing chores, relaxing with family or friends, going to concerts or sporting events, reading, surfing the internet, and your favorite, studying economics. But there are only so many hours in the day. You don't have as much time as you would like, so your time is scarce. Each of us must deal with the scarcity of time and money. So when economists study choices that we make, they usually focus on how people spend their scarce time and their scarce money. So economics is the study of choices that we make under conditions of scarcity. And as we've said, scarcity exists when we desire more of something than we can have. Something is defined as being scarce if it meets two conditions. Number one, if it's desirable, and if it is ultimately limited. Now, sunshine is desirable, but it is not limited. So therefore, it's not scarce. A disease like polio is not limited, but it's also not desirable. So because of that, it's not scarce. But most things in this world, whether it's gasoline for our cars, the phones that we have, the food that we eat, most of those things are desirable, but they're ultimately limited. There may be a huge quantity of them, but they're ultimately limited. So because of that, we say that they are scarce. Whenever the scarcity of money or time forces you to make a choice, you face what we call a trade-off. You make a trade-off when you give up one thing to get something else. For example, suppose you have $25 to spend. You've considered buying a new cat, but you're fond of eating at the ice cream shop. If you spend your $25 on a pet, you do not also have that same $25 to spend on banana splits. With an unlimited amount of money, you would not face a trade-off. You could have a personal zoo and still eat ice cream every day. But because money is scarce, the trade-off is necessary. You can't have your cat and eat banana splits too. Choices involving time also have trade-offs. For example, right now, you've made a choice to be in class and listen to this lesson. But even if a teacher or a parent told you to be here, you still chose to do it rather than face the consequences of disappointing them. But you could always be using your time in many other ways instead. For example, right now, you could be watching television, you could be talking to your friends, you could be texting, you could be reading a different, book, but you're still here in class. So if so, your choice to be here in class means that you cannot do those other activities at the same time. That's the trade-off involved in choosing to be here in class. Economists are interested in how people like you respond to trade-offs. If you're wise, you consider the consequences of choices that arrive far into the future, which is one of the reasons why you're in class, not because it's giving you pleasure right now, but because what your education will give you in the future. So, for example, your choice to be here is part of a larger decision to become more educated. Your education, in turn, will help you determine the types of jobs you can have in the future, the lifestyle that you will lead, and your understanding of the world around you. So next, we'll look at more aspects of trade-offs that wise decision makers never neglect. As you study economics, you'll learn valuable new ways to think about some familiar concepts. One of these concepts is cost. For example, if you go to a movie, what does it cost you? You might be tempted to say that the cost is what you pay for the ticket. If the price of the ticket is $10, that's the cost of going to the movie. Economics, however, uses a more complete way of thinking about cost. It's called opportunity cost. The opportunity cost of a choice is the value of the next best alternative given up when that choice is made. The opportunity cost captures the full trade-off involved in a choice. Another way of thinking about opportunity cost is to call it the opportunity lost. What is the opportunity you lose when you choose to do something? When you choose to spend your time one way, you lose the opportunity to spend your time another way. When you choose to spend your money on one thing, you lose the opportunity to spend your money on something else. So the opportunity cost of a decision is what you give up to make that choice. So what is the opportunity cost of seeing a movie? The $10 price of the ticket is part of the opportunity cost, but not the only thing. If you pay for a movie ticket, you will have $10 less to spend on other things. So in addition to scarce money, the movie uses up some of your scarce time. If you do not go to the movie, you can spend both your money and your time on something else. The activity that you would give up for the movie is part of its opportunity cost. Now let's be more specific. What would you do with that time if you did not see the movie? Would you go to the mall with friends, practice basketball, study? If you didn't see the movie, you would choose the best of these other options. Suppose the best alternative would be to practice basketball. Then to see the movie, you must give up practicing basketball during that time. You don't actually really give up a trip to the mall or study time because you would not have the choice. You have not have chosen those activities anyway. The basketball practice you do give up is one part of the opportunity cost of the movie. The other part is the $10 you actually pay for the ticket. Because opportunity cost is central to the economic way of thinking, you will see the concept in many chapters in this course. Always remember that the opportunity cost of a choice is whatever you must give up for the choice, not just the amount of money you spend. If a choice uses up time, the next best alternative for using that time is part of the opportunity cost. In addition to choices for individuals, economics deals with choices for society. By society, we mean any collection of people who share a common bond, such as those living in the same city or country. Trade-offs for society arise from scarcity, just as they do for individuals. To understand what scarcity means to society, we must first consider our desires and how we attempt to satisfy them. Everyone in a society has needs that must be met for survival. These include food, water, and shelter. In addition, we have wants, things that we desire that are not essential. A television is an example of a want. Your life might be less fun without a television, but you don't need it to survive. People often confuse needs and wants. Do you ever say that you need something? A haircut? A candy bar, a new outfit, that you could actually live without? If so, an economist would say you really meant want. You want a candy bar. You need enough food to stay alive. It is vitally important to satisfy needs, but most of the trade-offs in our society involve wants. That's because our needs are limited, but our wants are unlimited. No matter how well we live, we can usually think of ways to live better. You can probably imagine having a more luxurious home, a snazzier bike, nicer clothes, and so on. Economies form as societies seek to satisfy their needs and wants. An economy is a system for coordinating the production and distribution of goods and services. Goods are physical items produced in an economy. Jeans, tennis rackets, popcorn, cars, and even houses are goods. Think of some of the goods that you are currently carrying. Look at what you have with you. What's in your possession? What are you wearing? What do you own that you have with you right now? If you can touch it and feel it, it's a physical good. But economies also produce services. Services are activities produced in an economy. The lesson that I am teaching right now, the examination, physical, that your doctor gives you, a beauty treatment that you have, a haircut that you get, the pilot that flies you on an airplane, the waitress that serves you your meal at a restaurant. Services are used up at the same time they are produced, but they don't leave any physical object behind that you can touch and feel. But many of the things that we desire in our economy are actually services performed for us. So economies produce both goods and services. When a doctor checks your throat or listens to your heart, you are receiving medical services. True, the doctor uses some goods during the examination, such as a tongue depressor and a stethoscope, but the checkup itself is a service. You cannot put the checkup in a bag and carry it home. You use many services every day, perhaps more than you think. I am your economics teacher, and I'm providing you with educational services. If you ride the bus to school, your bus driver provides transportation services. The janitor here at Rock Canyon High School provides cleaning services. Your phone and computer wouldn't be the same without phone and internet service providers. And your favorite musicians and bands provide entertainment services. You may also benefit from services provided by waiters, lifeguards, police officers, plumbers, government officials, and mechanics, among others. Most of the discussion of goods in this book apply equally to services, although sometimes the services category goes unmentioned for the sake of brevity. To create any good or service, we must tap into our limited supply of resources. In economics, the term resources has a very specific meaning. Resources are the basic elements from which all goods and services are produced. Economists classify resources into 4 types: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Let's now take a closer look at each one. Land describes anything that is drawn from nature for use in the production of goods or services. We often call these the gifts of nature. Anything that comes from the earth, that comes from the land itself, is put in the category of a land resource. This includes the fields where strawberries are grown and the properties where Taco Bell restaurants are built. But land also includes the natural resources found on the ground or under the ground, such as the forests used to make books, the water sprayed to irrigate cotton fields, the oil refined to make gasoline, and the iron ore smelted to make steel. The second type of resource, used to produce goods or services, is labor. Labor comes from people. Labor is the work that we do. It can be physical or mental. Labor is the time and effort people contribute to the production process. Labor is provided whenever a farmer plants strawberries, when a cook makes a burrito, when a lumberjack cuts down a tree, a teacher teaches a lesson, or an engineer designs an irrigation system. The third type of resource is capital. Capital is anything long-lasting that is created by humans for use in the production of other things. There are 2 types of capital. Physical capital is any long-lasting good that is used to make other goods or services. Examples include tractors, pans, axes, irrigation systems, and oil refineries. Although oil itself is used to fuel everything from tractors to chainsaws, it is not considered capital because it is used up in the production process. Human capital refers to the skills and knowledge of workers. If you've ever tried to drive a tractor, cook a fancy meal, or cut down a tree, you know these acts take more time and effort. People with more skills and knowledge produce better results. If you have surgery, fly in an airplane, or eat out, the human capital of the people providing the service matters to you. The fourth type of scarce resource is entrepreneurship. This is the willingness of people to organize, operate, and assume the risks involved with business ventures. Entrepreneurs bring together the land, labor, and capital to produce goods and services that satisfy our wants and needs. Although most towns have the land, labor, and capital required for a Taco Bell restaurant, they will have no restaurant unless there is an entrepreneur willing to make it happen. Entrepreneur Glenn Bell opened the first Taco Bell in Downey, California in 1962. Among other examples of entrepreneurs, Oprah Winfrey started the giant media company Harpo, which is Oprah spelled backward. Larry Page and Sergey Brin founded Google, and Mark Zuckerberg founded Facebook. The term inputs is used to describe these 4 types of resources. Inputs are sometimes called factors of production. So whether we call them factors of production, inputs, or resources, we're talking about the same thing. Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship that is used to produce the goods and services that we want. And so these resources are used to make something else, like cement, steel, lumber, and plastic. Because all of these resources are scarce, the goods and services that we want are also considered scarce. And because all inputs are either resources or made with resources, it is safe to say that resources are the building blocks of every good and services that you consume. We've seen that to address some of our needs and wants, we must use resources to produce goods and services. The more resources we have, the more goods and services we can produce. Unfortunately, we cannot wave Harry Potter's magic wand and make resources appear out of thin air. Instead, we are limited by the availability of resources. At any point in time, a country like the United States has a given number of people who can provide a fixed amount of labor. We have a fixed amount of land. We have a fixed amount of physical and human capital. And we have a limited amount of entrepreneurs. Countries, like people, face a scarcity of resources. Ultimately, all of the resources that are used to produce all the goods and services that we want are limited, and therefore they are scarce. Because they are scarce, because resources are scarce, every society has to make trade-offs. We must make choices. If more resources are committed to the production of one good or service, fewer resources are left for making other things. To make more bicycles, the manufacturers would need more rubber for the wheels, metal for the frames, and space for the factories, and thus more land. They would also need more capital in the form of machinery to make bicycle frames and parts, labor for assembling and selling the bicycles, and entrepreneurs to organize the bicycle making process. If we do this, the resources used in the bicycle industry would be drawn away from the production of other things such as computers and cars. So the decision to have more bicycles means we must give up something else. Even if a country buys goods from other countries, it still faces scarcity and trade-offs. Imagine you buy a bicycle made in Canada. That bicycle was made using Canadian resources instead of American resources. Did we escape a trade-off by getting the bicycle in a different country? Not at all. Purchases across international borders go both ways. The American dollars used to purchase Canadian goods are likely to return home as Canadians purchase American goods. The result is really a trade. Canada provides bicycles to the United States in exchange for goods made in the United States using American resources. So, to obtain the bicycle from Canada, we end up using some of our own resources to make goods for Canadians. Resources that we could have used to produce something else. In general, a country cannot escape the scarcity of resources and the trade-offs it creates. The next module in this course takes a closer look at these trade-offs. So, can you answer this question? How does the scarcity of resources affect society's ability to satisfy its wants and needs? We will now conclude this lesson by looking at a video that will show you a little bit more of why studying economics is important to you.
Study your Study your economics. Study your economics.